Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy, it's May 11th, and it's episode 107, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyfootballauctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. We've got a great show for you tonight. Tonight, we're finally going to take a look at the 2015 NFL rookie class. We're going to take a look at landing spots and all the little ripple effects that come along with it. But, of course, our experts, they're always here. He's kicking ass and taking names in daily fantasy baseball. Blister, are you on top of the leaderboard over there, fantasy sports for you?
I'm getting closer back, but I looked just now, I'm second, so I climbed up. I only started about a week and a half ago, and I've had a pretty good run. I probably will, now that I've been bragging about it, it'll probably come to a screeching halt here tonight. I got a lot of West Coast boys, and they're going to have to equal the Yankee offense that blew up tonight, so I stayed away from them tonight. So, yeah, the baseball's been going good, and the golf. I did get to the top of the leaderboard in golf now. I'm tied for first, so not that it means anything, but it's just a little dabbling I do with the other sports. Away from me getting my rankings done, though, so I got to cut myself off for a couple days and update my rankings with all these rookie draft picks here.
Yeah, well, and you're going to have to cut yourself off or have to keep adding to this premium content as it comes up, too, here, Blister. Not too long. Got
to change things here quickly.
And he's crunching numbers and analyzing the metrics. Slim, how are those off-season player rankings going?
Slowly. I was hoping to have them done by now, but that's okay. It'll give me something to plug away with this week and this weekend, and hopefully get them finished up for the start of next week.
So we're just we're finishing up the player rankings on the website. So you can head on over to thefantasyfootballauction.com, click on the player rankings tab, and they should be updated here in the next little while. We'll have consensus rankings up there. And also, too, we're going to start working on some real early looks at auction values as well. I mean, there's not a lot of mocks out there, but we can kind of slot guys in predetermined fashion and move on from there. So right now on our website, we still have our 2014 stuff up there, just so you can have a look at what we have to offer in the preseason. And Blister does have a list up there with rankings and comments and just some preliminary auction values as well. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at it. It's tough to get auction value numbers before there's any auctions. So we're just trying to do that compared to ADP and piece some things together. So keep that in mind when you're over at the website. Anyways, before we get started, guys, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the listeners who have given us ratings and comments and have subscribed to the podcast on iTunes. Slim a few weeks ago blurted out impromptu, but it all worked out that each and every one of you are going to get a free subscription to our new premium content this year if you head on over to iTunes and give us a rating and a comment. So guys like Rufus the Squamish Ghoul, which I love that name. Nice. That was actually,
definitely unique.
He left us a comment and a rating. BM Peters 06, he did the same thing. So they've recently commented on iTunes. They emailed us to let us know what was going on, and they're going to be getting a free subscription to the premium content. So head on over to iTunes, give us a rating, a comment, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of our podcasting action, and then send us an email at footballauctioneer@gmail.com so that we can sign you up for that free subscription. So, I don't know. So I guess after we drop that kind of little deal there, guys, let's get this thing going. So if you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. So like I said, we got a great show tonight. We're going to take a look at the rookie draft. Before we get in there, we're going to get into looking at the rankings, but we do have a Twitter question from our old friend at Falkbird. I'll fill this one out to both of you, so you can have the first crack at it. Which rookie wide receiver landed in the best spot this year and for the future? That's the first question. So let's both hit that one. Go, Slim.
Two-parter. Rookie wide receiver, I mean, it's hard not to go with Amari Cooper. I mean, to me, he's the most talented wide receiver in the class, which kind of makes it irrelevant almost where he landed.
Right.
But I like the situation too. He's going in there. Really, all he's got there to compete with is a cast-off in Michael Crabtree and, you know, a bunch of other lesser talents, we'll say. So, I mean, to me, he jumps to the top of their depth chart. He comes in with a high pedigree. He dominated a major conference in the SEC. He's got a full route tree, and I think Oakland should be losing a lot of games, so they should be passing quite a bit. We saw Garrett Carr had quite a few pass attempts last year. I don't see why that doesn't change this year, and if he's the number one target there, he should be getting his fair share of targets throughout the season. So hard not to like that situation.
All right, Blister, what do you think? Taking a look at rookie wide receivers, you got one in mind? You got a couple?
I got a couple of mine, but I'll start with Nelson Aguilar for out of USC. Went to Philadelphia. I think that his tape, everything that you read about him and stuff. He's a nice pass catcher, and you go to that offense in Philadelphia that's up tempo. They throw the ball a lot. Macklin is out of that offense now, so he's got a great opportunity to slide in there across from Matthews and have a nice 1-2 punch. I'm not really worried about Cooper or any of the other guys they got there. I think he has a chance to, step into the starting lineup on day one, and because of that up-paced, high-tempo offense, put up some good numbers this year. So I'm excited to see how he pans out.
All right. Did you say you had a couple, or?
Well, I also like Brashad Perriman, just because he's in a situation in Baltimore that, the knock on him, what worries me a bit is he's had a propensity to drop passes and stuff, and he's, has some good skills, but at the same time he's got a couple of question marks. But what I do like the best about him is he's going to Baltimore where, they got Steve Smith, who's not getting any younger. He had a good year last year. We kind of, a lot of us counted him out last year, and he kind of proved us all wrong. But that can't keep up. Marlon Brown was a guy in Baltimore that I expected to step up more last year, but I think because Steve Smith did so well, he didn't get that opportunity. But now Torrey Smith is gone. Steve Smith is old. Marlon Brown, he's a big target, could be in the red zone, something they like to see. But Brashad Perriman, if he can step in there, catch the ball, build some confidence, he's really got nobody stopping him. So he's a guy that has a great opportunity in front of him.
Blister, before we move on, you got a green thumb over there? Are you filming from the greenhouse? Or hydroponics? Okay.
The wife was pretty excited about, as you can see behind me here, getting the gardens and stuff started, but I was kind of skeptical as...
And it's going to snow.
There's no funeral or something over there.
No, hopefully nothing like that. But we were predicting snow tonight, and it went from looking like a couple cool days to some nice weather coming up. But now it doesn't look like nice weather's ever coming. So it could be in here all summer.
Well, for those of you listening, out at the soccer pitches tonight, when I had the little guy out there, I believe it was 34 degrees and driving sleet. Today is May 11th. Just to keep that in mind. Nothing like
nicer a month ago.
Yeah, nothing like this is springtime in Canada. Anyways, let's move on to the second part of the question. And Slim, I'm quite intrigued as to how you're going to answer this question, which leads to dynasty trades. Slim, the second part of the question is, which Dallas running back do you want, and can they be a fantasy RB1?
Well, I don't know if this is a cop-out, but I really want none of them, only because I feel like it's going to be a running back by committee that could be infuriating throughout the season. I mean, we know what Darren McFadden should have been doing. I don't know if he can do that. Dallas seems to be okay with him there. I could see him having some decent games throughout the year. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be a fantasy RB1. They might have an RB1 game here and there, but consistently I don't think anybody emerges as an RB1. I think the front runner, everyone wants it to be Joseph Randle, but I just don't know how talented he is to withstand that for the whole season, and I don't know about how smart he is to do it throughout the whole season. Yeah. And that's his knock, because is he going to do something stupid that's going to get him into trouble? And then after that we get Ryan Williams, who's coming off of pretty severe injuries throughout his career. To me, he's the best buy low because I feel like he's being overlooked. I don't think that he is going to be the every game starter, but I think he might get a chance to do something. Admittedly, it's a pretty big mountain to overcome for him, but just because he's got a few bodies in his way. But I mean, Darren McFadden is no sure thing. Could very easily end up injured, and Joseph Randle, he could maybe miss some time just because of off the field issues. So then somebody has to be the running back behind that offensive line, and I think of where guys are being drafted right now, to me, Ryan Williams is easily the cheapest option there. So I don't think there's anybody you need to actively target at the moment. I think right now you'll see Joseph Randle maybe being overdrafted in a lot of cases. So, I mean, to me, that prices him out for me. I'm not going to spend big money on a guy that is going to be in a running back by committee. So, I mean, buyer beware there.
All right. Just speaking of Randall and his smarts and maybe missing a few games, Blister, I don't know if you've seen the breaking news, but the NFL announced that Tom Brady will be suspended for the first 4 games of 2015. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and I know they're going.
In addition to losing a first-round pick in 2016 and a 4th and 17, paying $1 million, blah blah blah.
He's not missing 4 games.
I think they'll appeal it, probably get it reduced. The first-round pick, it sounds bad, but what they always pick near the end of the first round, and typically you'll trade out of that first-round pick. So. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. Like everyone says, it's the integrity. It's probably not even so much the air out of the balls, but then probably trying to hide it and lie about it. It's probably worse. To me, that's worse than. I mean, I bet you there's not a team in the league that doesn't do some of the same stuff, but they got caught and acted like they didn't know what was going on, and that's unfortunate.
You're an angel, Blister. You're an angel.
Well, that's because we're innocent, us Patriot fans. That's why I put that in there.
I did like Gronk's statement, though, inflating his pipes and deflating them nuts, I believe is how it was put, or something along that lines.
Typical Gronk.
Smooth talker.
And I just love that's like with the selfie cam just jammed up, and he looks jammed up, and it's
Kentucky
awesome.
Derby with that hideous suit, and
he is
classic.
Special. All right. Blister, do you want to make any comments about the Dallas RBs, or do you want to just get into
the
rookies?
I was looking at the depth chart there and stuff when I saw that question, and Slim couldn't have said it any better, I don't think. Like, you look at that, and any one of them potentially, because of that offensive line, could be an RB1 one week, but you're not going to get an RB1 number from just one of those guys, because they're going to be in there all year long. They're going to finish as a top 12. I can't see that happening for any of them. But from week to week, you could get some good numbers out of whoever the starter is. McFadden's numbers have been going down yards per carry the last few years, and I don't think he's got very much tread on his tires, even though they got a great offensive line. I think they're going to have to give it to some younger guys with some burst. But in looking at all those guys they have, none of them really instill in me a lot of confidence where you'd go out in your auction and know that if you spent $15-20 that you're made a hell of a buy. I mean, I think any one of those guys you might take a flyer on for $2 or something at the end of an auction. I can't see anybody spending a lot of them, but maybe you or Stu.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking for the Justin Forsett kind of guy that's going to come from this situation this year, and I just don't see it. I don't think that there's anybody who's going to get that volume of carries throughout the season to make him the consistent RB1. I don't know. I just can't see it there, but who knows? Okay.
Well, let's take a look at a different number one, guys, and start taking a look at the rookie class for 2015. And we don't have official rookie rankings on the site. We leave that to dynasty experts. But I mean, to me, I think, I don't know, if we're talking generational talents and all those types of things, to me, a guy that could be a clear number one as far as a rookie go rookie class goes here is Todd Gurley. I mean, he got drafted by the Rams. It's a good situation for him. He, by all accounts, is healthy or is going to be ultra healthy, and it's a generational talent. Now, Slim, I know you're a Trey Mason owner in a dynasty league. Talk to us a little bit about what you think about Todd Gurley as far as his landing spot with the Rams, and what do you think about him as far as redraft moving forward?
Well, first off, I'd like to say I want to kick Jeff Fisher in the giblets, but I mean, how can we be shocked by this? He did the same thing in Tennessee or Houston/Tennessee when he was there. I mean, to me, Gurley, yeah, obviously in a dynasty, like, this is a guy you know, I don't care what's league scoring you use. If you got the 101, you got to strongly consider taking him. I mean, I know that guys like having the elite wide receivers there, but this guy is, by all projections, he's going to be a stud. So, and how do you not like? It's almost like the Rams are saying, all right, boys, we know we've got our stud running back. We're going to take him high in the first round. We loaded up the offensive line. We're just going to smash it down everybody's throat and try and stop it. So, I mean, if you own a running back in that situation, that's a pretty good sign. So, I mean, in redraft, I think this year, you got to be a little careful. I mean, we know he's going to miss some time to start the season. How much time, we don't know. Could he start on the PUP list and miss 6 games? Is he going to be eased in? I have a feeling that obviously he's going to miss time the first few weeks. I don't see why St. Louis would rush him. They have a talented running back behind him in Trey Mason. If this is the guy that they really think is going to be their bell cow for the next 8 to 10 years, why would you risk throughout this whole season anything with him tearing up this knee again? So to me, it makes sense just to ease him in. Even when he becomes healthy, he doesn't need to have 100% of the touches. He can be in a timeshare with Mason, learn the offense, get acclimated to the NFL, and then come back. To me, he makes his real debut in 2016, I think, when the reins can come off and he can just go bananas if he wants to. So yeah, I'm a little skeptical of what he can do this year. I think he'll still put up points this year. It's just a matter of when that happens and just how much of the actual timeshare he gets by the end of the season. I mean, hey, he could be a real, come the fantasy playoffs, he could be the man there, and and obviously carry your team down the stretch. But you got to be skeptical. I still think Mason's going to get some looks, just obviously not as many as he was penciled in to get before the NFL draft a couple weeks ago.
Blister, I'm looking at the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings and redraft right now. They have Todd Gurley ranked at RB20. That's right between Jonathan Stewart and Latavius Murray. What do you think about positioning there, and what do you think about Gurley in redrafts in 2015?
Yeah, I that's what I've been putting off for too long now, is getting my rookie slotted in there. I kind of saw something like that though for himself, and maybe Gord might be a little bit higher. We'll talk about him in a second, but yeah, because of the fact he's coming off that injury, and I think Slim said it well. Are they going to ease him in? They have a lot of running backs there that they've got some confidence in, I would say, and I don't know. The St. Louis Rams running back situation seems like it's a topic of our conversation every year.
Yeah.
Because we had Isaiah Pede, Zach Stacy, Trey Mason, and every year it seems like they draft a running back that is going to take over. And I mean, one of these, sooner or later, one of these guys is going to hit, and they're going to be a stud like the old maybe Steven Jackson used to be for them. But there are some reasons to be a little bit skeptical. But having him in there at around 20 is probably a pretty safe spot right now.
All right, so let's move on to, I guess, who many consider the top wide receiver coming out of the rookie class, Amari Cooper. So, Slim, we talked about him there a little bit earlier with Twitter, or the Twitter question, but he lands in Oakland. Everyone likes the opportunity there. Is he somebody that you think redraft-wise you'd consider drafting, and if so, whereabouts?
I definitely consider drafting him. I'm a little skeptical to take him, especially with how deep the wide receivers are. I feel like if I wouldn't expect him to do anything more than wide receiver 3, and anything else is a bonus. And I think that's one thing you're going to have to watch out for this year is that because of last year, and you'll see it even with Gurley, I think people are going to get too excited with these rookies and expect immediate production because we saw some of it with Mike Evans, and there was some games Sammy Watkins had, and they were very talented players. But you got to look at it throughout the season. There was a lot of games where those guys didn't do anything. To draft a rookie expecting him to contribute weekly to your fantasy team, to me, you're setting yourself up for disappointment because there's going to be a lot of games where they might not put up starting caliber numbers. You're going to have guys maybe on your bench that do better than them. So you got to be really careful, and especially in an auction where you're looking for value. I think maybe this year, because of what we saw last year, people are going to forget that, and you're going to see the value of some of these rookies become inflated because people are expecting, Odell Beckham again. Well, that just doesn't happen. You got to remember that doesn't happen. So, just be careful of that. And Cooper's the prime example. I feel like, I'm not spending more than $18 or something like that on this guy, and maybe even less. We'll see how the like I said, with how deep the wide receiver class is. Once we start slotting guys, you might be able to get him for less than 15, which to me isn't bad. But to spend more than $20 on a rookie wideout, there's going to be a lot more productive guys, more consistent guys that you can get for that value.
Okay, Blister, Cooper, is he your top rookie out of this class?
No, I like his talent and his skill set, and he is in a pretty decent spot, but I don't love him. And when we're talking redraft auctions here, yeah, I agree with Slim. I might not even go as high as $18 for him because there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, on the positive side, they are probably going to unload some. We've seen them already let go James Jones. They're probably going to unload some of these guys that have been in Oakland and have been hyped up for, as long as we've been doing this, there's always some guys that are hyped up there that never perform. So I'd love to see them cut the fat, get rid of these guys that are no good, and move on and give him a chance. Last year, David Carter threw the ball 599 times. So if that was to keep up, he's going to get his fair share of looks. Right. But they hired Bill Musgrave to be the new offensive coordinator, and Bill is a run-first type of guy. So I think they're going to try to pound the rock as much as they can with Latavius Murray. That could affect, obviously, the 599 pass attempts could be significantly reduced this year. They probably want to keep the game simple. They still got a young quarterback. They got a great young receiver, a great running back there, too, that, showed in a few glimpses last year how good he can be, right? Yeah, T-Rich. So I think that, I'm in the same boat with Slim, and the fact that they could be running the ball a lot. I do, especially in a redraft league like this, I tend to not really go gaga over the rookies so much as some people will.
All right, Slim, let's do some name game. Amari Cooper or Kevin White?
Amari Cooper.
Or Michael Floyd?
Oh. You see, this is where I need finish those rankings,
right?
Yeah.
What's your gut saying right
now? I'll go Cooper. I think he could edge him out in receptions.
All right. How about someone like Golden Tate?
I'll take Tate.
Okay. All right. Blister, let's go to you. How about Amari Cooper or V-Jax?
I'll take Cooper.
Jeremy Maclin?
I think I gotta go with anybody other than the Kansas City receiver. So they gotta get one.
I'm just looking at Fantasy Pros.
Yeah, one receiving touchdown next year will outscore all the receiving touchdowns they got last year. So they have to go up, right? But yeah, that's gross.
All right, how about Amari Cooper or Andre Johnson?
I'll take Andre.
Okay. All right, that's what I thought you'd say. So, okay, well, you're slotting in around where the quote-unquote consensus is. Let's take a look at another running back here, Slim. Let's take a look at Melvin Gordon. He was drafted by San Diego. The good situation for him, I think anybody who landed in San Diego as a running back, it was going to be a good situation. What do you think about Gordon in redrafts?
I like him. I think he can be on the field for 3 downs for them. So yeah, I think he's a guy that you want to maybe look at in redrafts. Obviously, we know running backs can tend to contribute a little bit quicker than wide receivers typically, so he's got a leg up on a lot of guys just because of that. So yeah, to me, he might be the number 1 redraft guy in redrafts to own this year. Again, it's be weary of what his price tag becomes. But yeah, I like the situation. To me, he fits as a good fit for this offense. Obviously, the Chargers like him. They traded up to get him. I'm sure they're going to try and do whatever they can to get him involved and integrate his skill set into the offense. And if you're a Phillip Rivers owner, I think this can really help too. They should have a decent running game where it just keeps that offense on the field a little bit longer. They can pick up, get into 3rd and short, manageable 3rd downs, keep the chains moving. It's just more offensive snaps and hopefully more fantasy points for a lot of guys on this offense throughout the season. So I think it's really good for a lot of aspects of this whole San Diego offense. So I really like the pickup.
So, Blister, do you think that Melvin Gordon, he's higher ranked in redrafts than Todd Gurley this year?
I do. I think because Gurley also has that injury question mark, but a lot of these guys getting drafted so high, it's all about your opportunity, and Gordon has got a better opportunity in my mind. He doesn't have a guy like Trey Mason behind him. Brandon Oliver, Danny Woodhead, and Donald Brown don't exactly scare a fantasy or losing
They do
touches.
if you own them in a dynasty. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, then it's a little scary, but you know what? They didn't really draft any receivers, and their receiving core is, Keenan Allen. Even Keenan Allen isn't that. He's not a high-end one. He's a low-end number 2 wide receiver 2, I'd say. And so, Gordon could be the best part of that offense going forward. Antonio Gates was probably their best offensive player last year, other than Phillip Rivers, and he's about 90. So Gordon could see a lot of touches, and he's probably worth, in your redraft auction, you might be paying 25 to 30 for him or more. Who knows?
Well, the consensus rank on him is RB16 right now. Do you like him more than Justin Forsett, Blister?
That's tough. Justin Forsett had such a good year last year, and I know he's a lot older, but he doesn't have many miles on his on the legs yet. So I'll stick with Forsett since I own him in some leagues.
Okay. Do you like Melvin Gordon better than Lamar Miller?
I do. I never really have a lot of faith. Lamar had a pretty good year last year, but I think he's got a better chance there.
All right. Slim, do you like him better than Mark Ingram?
No, I don't. Sorry.
What are your thoughts on Lamar Miller with compared?
I actually don't mind Lamar Miller. I like the season he had last year. I think that this offense is just going to continue to evolve. He's playing for a contract, so that's a good thing too. Hopefully, he can put up a decent year this year. I wouldn't be shocked, if he finishes as a low-end RB1, actually. To me, some people are worried about Ajayi going there, and, I mean, if Ajayi didn't have this leg or this knee issue, to me that's, it would be much more significant. With that injury, I'm not sure what to make of it. I mean, as running backs, some people are going to stay totally away from that and think Lamar Miller can run away with the job. But, I mean, in the short term, to me, I don't see why Ajayi can't cut into some of his production. So I'm tempering a little bit for Lamar Miller. I have trouble putting him at full-fledged into that back-end RB1 territory, but to me he's a solid RB2 at best with a little bit more upside than that. And to me his floor is pretty high too. I mean, there should be lots of touches to go around, and like I said, I like what they're doing with that offense now. So Yeah, I feel like there's not a ton of risk for Lamar Miller this year.
All right. Well, let's stick with the Miami Dolphins, Slim. Let's take a look at Devontae Parker. He was drafted by the Dolphins, a 22-year-old out of Louisville. A lot of people really like him, thinking that he's got a lot of upside. Slim, what are your thoughts as far as ceiling, as far as a redraft this year?
This is a really hot topic, I find, on Twitter and everything. When he went to Miami, which to me wasn't a shock, a lot of people mocked him to Miami. It just kind of shook up the whole offense, though. Some people were surprised that the Dolphins would spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver after what they got with Jarvis Landry last year. And to me, that kind of says more of maybe what they feel about Landry as a whole. If you had this receiver emerge and then you just go and spend a first-round pick on another receiver, I don't know if they really feel like they had a true wide receiver one there. And we know that Landry was, fairly slow. He's a good possession receiver, good PPR receiver. But I think they were looking for a big play type of guy, someone that can be their future wide receiver one, and I think that's why they took Parker. So he's got to compete with Landry. To me, they're not the same type of player. So right. They can be on the field together. Landry, to me, sets up more in the slot, and you can put Parker and Stills or Jennings or whatever you want to do on the outside. So there's a lot of mouths to feed there. I'm not sold. I don't think Greg Jennings poses a huge threat. Yeah, he's serviceable, but to me, he's going to be used situationally. He's not going to be an every down player. Where Parker, he can be that guy to go out and try and make these big plays for this offense. The only issue I have is that's not where Ryan Tannehill is successful. He's not good at throwing the ball deep down the field. Which is why Jarvis Landry is a good fit for this offense. So we'll see. I mean, I don't have high hopes for Parker this year. I think it'll be a lot like Sammy Watkins last year. Not to say they're the same talent. I think Sammy Watkins is better, but I just feel like there'll be some games where Parker, is putting up wide receiver 2, maybe even low-end wide receiver 1 numbers, but it's going to be very hard to predict when that is, and it's going to be very inconsistent. So to me, he's a guy you don't want to spend a lot on a redraft on this year.
Blister, is Parker the best wide receiver to draft in Miami?
Well, I still think Jarvis Landry is, but they brought in a lot of additions there with Greg Jennings. I just think Greg Jennings his time has kind of passed now. But Kenny Stills, he's got a chance in a new offense to see what he can do. So I mean, they had Rashard Matthews before, but I guess he's asked for a trade because he doesn't see himself moving up the depth chart. So that might not be a concern. So go ahead. We're gonna say something.
Oh, I was just gonna chirp him and saying rightfully so.
Yeah. So, but Devontae Parker, one of the things I like to look at was our good friend there, Matt Harmon, came on, the reception perception guy, and he broke him down quite a bit. And if you go to Matt Harmon's site and read about how he looks and breaks down the routes and everything of these rookie receivers in the draft, you'll see that he makes a lot of good points where this kid has potential to be somebody in the league, but just from what you read, his route running and his kind of some inconsistent play, you could say, could lead to some inconsistent play here this year in the first year in the NFL. So I think in a dynasty, you might want to have him, but in a redraft this year, I think you might want to shy away from him and let the Dolphin fan in your league buy him for more than he's worth. And I just don't think, like Slim said, I don't think you're going to have him consistent games. He might have some decent games, but I don't think he's going to put up consistent numbers all year long. But a couple of years down the road, maybe be the guy you'd be chasing after him in the redraft.
So Blister gives a shout out to Matt Harmon, who was on the last podcast on episode 106, broke down some wide receivers not in the rookie class. So we'll give him another shout out. Head on over to the Backyard Banter. His metrics on wide receivers is exceptional. And his time on the podcast, on the last podcast, was awesome too. So don't be afraid to go out and check out some of his stuff over at the Backyard Banter. So Slim, right now, Fantasy Pros has Devontae Parker mixed in there at wide receiver 45, which is with Anquan Bolden, Percy Harvin, Victor Cruz, Marcus Colston, Kendall Wright. Any thoughts on where he slots in there?
I guess that's not a bad spot. To me, he's not a wide receiver 3, so I guess that's a fairly decent spot for him. I mean, I like Bolden more slightly. Not sure what I think about Cruz just yet until we know a little bit more about his injury. I think I like Parker more than Kendall Wright, so I can kind of live with where he sits in that for right now. Yep.
Okay, so Blister, do you like Devontae Parker better than Percy Harvin?
I hate Percy Harvin. So sure.
So sure. How about Steve Smith?
No, I'm going to keep Steve Smith for now. I mean, he had a good year last year, and he doesn't have Torrey Smith to contend with this year. So if he can stay healthy, he'll be solid.
Okay, and how about Pierre Garçon?
That's tough. Pierre had a pretty bad year. I'm going to say Pierre bounces back, don't puts up better numbers than Devontae Parker.
Oh, nice stuff. Big call out already. That's good. Let's keep moving on. Let's take a look at another wide receiver, Slim, Kevin White. He goes into Chicago. Jay Cutler. I don't know. Anyways, talk to us about the landing spot there in Chicago.
Well, I kind of like the landing spot just in the sense that he doesn't really have any other competition. Marquess Wilson is there, but I feel like Kevin White is better than him. And obviously he was taken with a much higher pick, so to me he just he's going to get the majority of the work early. They want to see what they have with him. You liked it. He's got a stud wide receiver playing opposite him that can draw a lot of the attention, so it could allow Kevin White to, pick up a few receptions every game and hopefully make a couple big plays. For me, he's got one of the better landing spots of any of the receivers in the draft for as far as redraft goes, just because, like I said, he's got the stud to take a lot of the attention away from him. He doesn't have much competition, so he should see a lot of snaps. You got to like that. So, as far as what I expect from him, again, I was really high on him going into the draft. I think talent-wise, he's right up there with Cooper. He's just maybe not quite as polished. I know a lot of people are skeptical of these guys that have, one big year in college, and that's kind of was him. He came from junior college and then goes and has this one massive year. We don't know if he could do it over again. That kind of doesn't necessarily worry me as much as a lot of other people. I think, he's got the talent to become an elite wide receiver someday. I just, again, it's this whole thing of temper your expectations. To me, he can be like a Mike Evans and have a stretch of 4 really good weeks, but the weeks surrounding that can be fairly grim at times. And unfortunately, he's tied to one of the most up and down quarterbacks in the NFL. We've seen it. There's a stretch of games where Cutler can be, look really good, and there's a stretch of games where he's going to throw more interceptions than passes completed to his own receivers almost. So it's, that's the one thing that's going to maybe bring him down a little bit. But, I mean, if you can pick your spots with him, to me he's a good high or a good guy you might want to take a flyer on if you can get him for a good price again. Again, it's going to come back. You're going to hear us say it a lot probably. It's always going to come down to value. If he's sitting there with a good value, then to me he's a smart buy. But if you got to overpay to get him, then it's somebody you just want to pass on and go on to the next veteran.
Blister, what do you think of Kevin White? 6'3", 215, runs a 4.35. He's got an elite wide receiver opposite him. Sounds like a perfect situation.
Yeah, I do. I like that. I like the situation he's in. I think he's one of these rookie receivers that has a chance to put up some solid numbers. Slim said everything I would have said. He's got a great receiver across from him. Hopefully Cutler can be a little more consistent, but then he wouldn't be Cutler. So, I think that he is a guy, though, that you could definitely pay some money for. I mean, you're not going to go out and pay, money like you would for Jordy Nelson or Antonio Brown, but he's a guy, you might be looking into the high teens, the $20 range in your auction this year to buy, and he should put up some solid numbers.
So, Blister, do you like him more than Roddy White? Maybe you can write an article about the Whites this year.
The Whites.
Ranker Johnson. I don't know.
Ranker Johnson. It's been a while. Do I like him more than Roddy? Yeah, that's a tough call. I'd say, yeah. I mean, potentially Roddy. That's tough. Roddy's not getting any younger, but he still managed to get the job done. But he's getting banged up a little more every year, and his injuries take a little longer to heal. But yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I'd have to take a look better at my rankings where I have him put in there.
Okay, what about?
I'd have to give it. Maybe I'd have to probably give it to Roddy.
To Roddy. What about Kevin White or Eric Decker?
I'll give it to Kevin this time. Eric Decker's got Brandon Marshall there. They drafted a receiver. There's a lot of question marks there.
Kevin White or Martavis Bryant? Martavis Bryant.
Let's go Bryant. I think he just started to touch the surface of him last year. I think they like to have another high-powered offense and throw the ball a lot, and they want to put up some numbers. So Bryant, I think, has a little more, potentially better quarterback play. So I think he's got an edge, and he can make some big plays, that guy.
All right, Slim, let's take a look at another wide receiver this time. Well, we spoke to him a little bit earlier, well, Blister did, Nelson Aguilar. He lands in the high-paced, high-tempo offense of Philadelphia. What do you think of him in redrafts this year?
I think this is going to be a guy who, as we get closer to our drafts, is going to garner more and more hype and higher value. And it's only because of the offense. And that's not to say he's not talented. I think he is talented, and I think he can be a good fit for this offense. I mean, before the draft, a lot of people were comparing him very closely to Jeremy Maclin, and guess what? He was drafted to fill that exact spot, so maybe Chip Kelly felt the same way. So, yeah, I mean, we know the offense is up-tempo. There's going to be a lot of snaps. So, to me, his value hinges directly to that, and that's a good thing. To me, he's right behind Cooper and Kevin White as far as the ceiling goes. So if I'm going to draft guys, I want people with high ceilings. That if I hit the home run, let's make it a 500-footer, and I think you can get big weeks out of him. We saw it with Jordan Matthews last year. There was certain weeks where all of a sudden he showed up, and there were some weeks where he kind of looked a little lost. And I think you're going to expect the same thing this year. But you got to try and pick your spot with those big weeks.
All right, Blister. Anything else you want to add to the new Eagles wide receiver?
Only one thing. I'm a little sad because I really thought Josh Huff was going to have a bit of a breakout year this year. Not to say that he still can't, but I think obviously this hurts his value. Unless he can slide in and replace Riley Cooper or something like that. But I expected more out of him. But no, I think what we said earlier, basically that's it. I mean, he's a guy. I would pay for him perhaps in the auction, a lot. But I just think opportunity, since there's probably going to be more hype. But it'll be interesting to see how things unfold in camp. So Kelly has his favorites. He's starting to put them in, and he drafted him, so I imagine he's going to get a pretty fair opportunity.
Now, at the backyard banter, Blister, the prediction is he could be the most productive Wookiee wide receiver. Wookiee wide receiver. The most productive rookie wide receiver. What do you think of those types of claims?
Well, I mean, he does have a lot of good aspects about him, and he's going to be in the right offense to produce it. So it's exciting to see. I mean, he's a guy that you're not going to. He probably, he's not going to. White and Cooper are going to bring down the top dollar at receiver, so you might get a little bit more value out of him as well. So, and he's in the right spot. So keep an eye on him. All
right, let's take a look at Perriman now. Slim, he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, 6'3", 212 pounds, a young kid out of Central Florida. What are your thoughts about a guy that can maybe catch a long ball from Mr. Long Ball?
I like him. I think a lot of people, some people are worried about, oh, he's got small hands, he drops the ball. To me, the drops, he can that can be fixed. He's shown a propensity to big plays. The thing that jumps out to me is the production and the things that he showed on tape with some of the worst quarterback play maybe in the country as far as major colleges go. So to me, he's gonna again. I look at a GM like Ozzie Newsome, who just doesn't seem to miss very often on high round talent. He just makes smart picks, good fits for his team, and to me, if Ozzie Newsome thinks he's a fit for this offense and can be successful there, then who am I to disagree with that? So I think that he does have a fit. Again, to me, he slots in kind of with Devontae Parker, just kind of below some of these other guys, like Cooper White, Aguilar, in terms of consistency. I mean, we see it with Baltimore receivers anyway. When Torrey Smith was there, he would have one big game and then 3 duds, and I think this will be kind of something that we can expect from Perriman as well. So again, temper your expectations. Weekly, his floor is pretty. It can be fairly, or sorry, his ceiling can be fairly high, but I think his floor is really low too. So I tend to avoid guys that I think have these huge floors, or sorry, really low floors. Until really late in the draft, if I can. I let somebody else kind of have the headache, so to speak, of owning these guys, if possible.
So, Blister, are you going to own him? Are you targeting him with that strong arm from Joe Flacco? Does he help you like Steve Smith a little bit more because now we're clearing out the safeties?
Yeah, I don't. Again, this, like we said before, it's a lot about opportunity. I do like the opportunity the young fella has here, and I don't see him having a lot of competition. And I can, like we always said, if you have one really solid wide receiver that's going to gather a lot of attention, that's going to give somebody else a lot of space. Steve Smith can be very dangerous if he gets a lot of space because he's still pretty wily, and I think it doesn't hurt his value at all, right? So if Perriman's a guy that I'll look at, like I said before, I don't really get too crazy in the redrafts auctions, especially about rookies, receivers, and tight ends, especially. I don't mind the running backs. They're guaranteed touches, and they have typically done okay over the years. And I think last year, like we've said it many times, and we'll say it many more, the rookies. There's a lot of rookies that really outperformed normal rookie levels. They did great, and ODB is a guy that's going to probably skew a lot of people into thinking they're going to get Odell Beckham and his numbers, but I'm not going to be fooled by that. But he'd definitely be a guy I'll keep, and if the value's there, I'd take him.
All right. I'm just looking, guys, as far as time goes. I'm just going to jump around here a little off script. Slim, we talk a lot about streaming quarterbacks. Jameis Winston, Mariota, are either of those someone that you might target as a streamer in your auction draft?
If I'm going to pick one, I'll take a flyer on Winston. I mean, I look at Mariota and I just feel like he ran such a specific type of offense in college that if Tennessee wants him to run a pro-style offense, then that's going to take him some time to get accustomed to. There's been reports that Wisenhunt said he's going to take little bits of what they did at Oregon and install it, but I just feel like they're not going to set him up necessarily for success early on, because I don't think they're going to actually run a lot of the total package that they ran at Oregon. So to me, that hurts. Dorial Green Beckham's value this year. Long term, yeah, I think playing in a dynasty, he's still a guy you want to own. Even Mariota can be, but I just feel like Mariota's going to be 2-3 years, maybe even 4 years from actually, if he can live up to this draft status, that's when you'll actually see it. Which is unfortunate. If he would have went to, obviously Philly, to me, that's perfect fit, right? And he can become, a high-end QB2 potentially in that offense. But in this one, with Tennessee, they're just a really bad team. They just don't have lots of talent, and it's going to show, I think, for Mariota. So I like Winston. I mean, how do you not like? He's got these huge receivers all around him. Tampa addressed offensive line early in their second round. I think they're realizing that we've got to protect this guy and give him a chance to connect with some of these big dudes. And I think that Jameis is pro-ready too, so it just bodes well for him to be some more successful than Mariota this year.
Hey, Blister, just I'm looking through some of the ranks here. So let's say you're sitting in your draft, you don't have a quarterback yet. Do you take Carson Palmer at $1? Do you take Andy Dalton at $1? Do you take Nick Foles at $1? Or do you say, nah, I'm going to hold on to and wait for Winston to show up, and maybe I'll stream him for the first little bit?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, I'd play him as much as I'd play those other guys you mentioned right there. Like Slim said, he's got a lot of good weapons. The only problem is, a new shiny toy. I think somebody else in your league is going to say, I'll pay $5 for Jameis Winston. So you might not get him for $1 just because of that new factor.
Right.
But any of those guys have that potential to put up some decent points for you in a streaming situation.
So, Blister, then with the shiny new toy, what would be, real early now, but what might be an auction strategy nomination-wise for Winston?
Well, I would say if you want him on your team, get him out there earlier when there's a lot of quarterbacks left. If you're in a 12-team league, typically there's a lot of good quarterbacks that are going to be out there. And if you just maybe you're only going to have him as a streamer, but late in the draft somebody's sitting there, they've got a quarterback and they got $20 sitting in their pocket still. Say, what the heck? I got the money. I really don't need many other players, or I don't need anybody else. So I would get Winston out on the board early if that's someone you're thinking you want to have as a backup or a streamer potentially that maybe has a higher ceiling. Throw him out there when there's a lot of guys, and then people might shy away thinking, well, there's lots of quarterbacks left. I'm not going to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 on this guy.
All right. So again, for the interest of time, and we're going to break down each individual position a ton, both on the website and through the pod and all those types of things. But just to take, I guess, a final look at some of these high-end rookies, Slim, just take someone we haven't spoke to. We've talked about 7 or 8 guys. Pick someone out of this list now that you think is going to be redraft fantasy auction relevant.
I think Jalen Strong can be redraft. I think, and is he the most talented receiver in the class? No. But again, he goes into a situation where there's just not much else there at the wide receiver position. They've got Hopkins there. We know that he's emerging and going to be the wide receiver one. Cecil Shorts was brought in, but to me, he's kind of more of the slot guy. And then it's wide open pretty much for Jalen Strong to be playing opposite of Hopkins. And again, he goes to a place where Hopkins is going to draw most of the attention. That's a good thing. The one negative I would say is that, obviously there's not much there at quarterback. So that's not something that's, might give you a lot of confidence. But I think Jalen Strong can do enough to be put in that category with guys like Brashad Perriman, that were taken a lot higher than him in the NFL draft and, produce semi-weekly, at least in that offense. So, yeah, he's one guy that I think you can get for fairly cheap that I think has some decent upside.
Okay, Blister, so you've got to go through who's left over now. Pick someone that you think is going to be relevant here.
Well, I think Tevin Coleman, the running back for Atlanta, I think he could be really relevant. He could be one of the better running backs this year. They got a pretty solid offense. They got great receivers, but they haven't had that running back. They had Jaquiz Rogers. He didn't work out. He's in Chicago now. Jackson was old. They had to let him finally go. Devontae Freeman, obviously he'll probably get the first crack, but we're not sure, how good he really can be. So here we have Tevin Coleman already sitting number 2 on the depth chart. We haven't even got into real camps yet. So I think he's got a great opportunity, a pretty solid offense there. And, I think he's a guy that could, at the end of this year, he takes that number 1 job before the season starts or something, he could be your number 1 rookie running back, I think.
All
and
right.
Plus, Devontae Freeman just isn't necessarily that good, right?
Good,
Yeah.
That's the one thing too.
So, So I mean, he's a guy that I would even pay more for than Todd Gurley in a redraft.
Well, there you go. Interesting. Early yet, but I mean, we need to see how the need goes, though, right? That's the thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else slim on the list that you want to draw attention to? Green Beckham or anybody?
Green Beckham to me is a guy that you just want to avoid altogether this year because I think Tennessee's going to just be they're a couple of years away from being relevant fantasy-wise. I think a lot of running backs actually. Blister touched on one in Coleman. I think T.J. Yeldon went to a good spot. Toby Gerhart sucks, and Denard Robinson isn't kind of an every down back. I liked Yeldon, even going into the draft as a guy that can potentially be a 3-down running back. And I think he went to a really good spot, a team that really is looking for running back. And I worry, on an offense that they bring in a head coach from Seattle who came from a run-first offense, and that you think, yes, they're going to pound the ball and want to pound it. But then they also brought in Julius Thomas, and they drafted Marquise Lee and Allen Robinson last year. I just feel like maybe they aren't going to want to run it a ton. They might want to throw it, which, who knows how that'll work out with Bortles. But another guy is Amir Abdullah, too. Interesting spot. Joique Bell is talented. He's just not really flashy. I'm not saying Abdullah can beat him outright, but I think that there's a chance for sure he fills the Reggie Bush role. And we'll see how he performs. He could maybe do more with that than even just that. He's got tons of talent. We just want to see if he's good enough to take the entire package away and become a 3-down running back on that team. But I think there's a good chance that he can at least carve out a 50-50 shot in a PPR. To me, he's a really good candidate.
How about you, Blister? Looking down that list, is there a couple of names that pop out to you?
A couple names that maybe for the wrong reasons. Philip Brissett going to, I kind of thought he might end up in New Orleans, and I thought that would be a good place for him. But here he is in Indy, and he's got to beat out T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief, Andre Johnson, and we were all excited a couple of months ago about Duron Carter. So, I really think that in a redraft league, you're not going to worry about Philip Dorsett this year. I think he is, maybe you might want him in a dynasty because Andrew Luck is the quarterback, but in a redraft, why would you? He's got to share targets with so many guys. Plus Dwayne Allen, I think, and the tight ends there, Colby Fleener, they're going to get their fair share. They like to throw it to the running backs. They got Frank Gore. I mean, it's just not a good situation for him. So I wouldn't even bother drafting him in your auction this year. Other guys like that, I think that might have been overhyped a bit. David Cobb, I mean, he's a guy that, so he goes to Tennessee as well, and I saw him play. I mean, it was a small sample, but
that's right. You did go see him play.
Yeah, he didn't stick out at all in that game, and he was too hesitant. He didn't hit the hole. He didn't go north and south running enough. He was east and west, and he didn't get a lot of positive yards often. So I wasn't thrilled about him. I mean. Can he move up and contest for the number one job in Tennessee? He might be able to because the fellow ahead of him wasn't all that impressive either. So, but he's got a year under his belt, right? He's got a year under his belt, so who knows? But David Cobb, I mean, one guy that was impressive that game was Max Williams, but we haven't seen a rookie tight end come in and blow the doors off. But this guy, again, he's in a good spot. Owen Daniels left. Basically, he's got that tight end position there, but you can't expect much out of your rookie tight end. But he did stick out in that bowl game. He was very impressive when he was on the field. Those were a couple of games I was looking at. Who was another one I just saw? David Johnson in Arizona. He's a guy that, again, he would be a nice guy to take a little depth for you when you draft. You probably get him fairly cheap, but Ellington finished the year banged up. He's a small back. He's going to be banged up quite a bit. David Johnson is probably going to start some games next year, and so if you got a starting running back, they're going to touch the ball, and he's a guy that you're going to get for a lot cheaper than a lot of these other these players. So keep an eye on him.
So there you heard it here first. Blister's going to pay 0 Cobb for David Cobb.
That's right.
Sorry. It's a new headline.
Too...
It's a headline in the fantasy world. Blister pays 0 Cobb for David Cobb.
I was too excited last year about Bishop Sankey, so I'm not going to get excited about a Tennessee running back.
Good point.
They could be my new San Diego Chargers.
Shame on you. Yeah, your new San Diego Chargers. I don't know if we got that kind of time, Blister, for you to pick up another team like that.
Well, these guys actually could be that team. Look at this.
Look at this, he says, laughing at their depth chart. I love that.
If I get offered Justin Hunter one more time from bots, I don't want him bots. I'd rather have a bag of pucks or something. Come on.
Come on, man.
So Slim, before you came on the air,
go.
just one more thing I got. Since we're kind of I digressed here. Slim, I got an offer tonight. 2 late, well, maybe not, 2 fourth-round picks in the rookie draft for Charles Sins. This tonight it was offered to me. I said that is, yeah, it was. I sent.
What did you say?
Sent the owner back. I said that could be the worst offer I've ever seen. So I said, here, how does this look to you then?
I was just gonna say, I could tell. I was gonna guess, but now I know.
I said, so you want my second year running back, probably a starter for 2 garbage picks. I said, here, how about this? I'll take Matt Forte for 3 picks, 1 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th. I said, and look at, you're getting an extra pick, and your running back's quite a bit older. That has to be, if you think that offer you made me is good, this is even better for you. And of course he turned it down. And I even said in the offer, it's just as ridiculous what I'm telling you this offer is, but I said, you got to feel how that feels when you get such a bad offer.
Yeah,
anyways,
I know.
I had the dynasty offer from the same individual today, Slim. Emmanuel Sanders for Latavius Murray and Jordan Matthews. Dynasty.
Yeah. That's a tough guy to deal with.
Every league's got one, I guess, right? Every league's got one.
I guess. I don't know. It's the only one I'm in, so.
Just
they're not even close. So it's just something else.
It's good. It's good fodder. It's good. Good for laugh. You love to see when that trade proposal comes in and you see the name beside it. You just can't. It's like Christmas. I can't wait to.
Yeah, exactly.
Reject it as fast as possible.
What the?
Well, more just to savor it at first, share it.
No, I instant reject. No, instant reject.
You can blame him, Slim, for me turning down your offer because I sat out there for so long because I really contemplated, but then he made me so mad I just rejected everything tonight. So sorry about that. It's his fault.
That's okay. I'll offer it again.
Okay. You really like that one guy. Anyways,
hey, I like IDP. I like IDP.
All right, well, that's something I need to take a better look at dynasty-wise. Maybe we'll have to bring on Mr. Davenport to help the 3 of us out in a private.
There you go.
Private hangout. Okay, so anyways, guys, that's episode 107. Quick look at some of the higher-end redraft auction guys from the rookie class of 2015. Again, everybody head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, comment, and as Slim mentioned earlier, you're going to be able to get yourself a free subscription to our premium content. We're working on it currently. The goal right now is June 1 to have some stuff up there and then have it rolling very continuously after that. The app, finishing touches. I got our mathematician speaking to him right now today about some of the inner workings of said formula content for the fantasy football auction optimizer, your in-draft application to help you maximize your fantasy auction. And hopefully if everything works out like it's supposed to, guys, we'll be on the air next Tuesday. Right? As long as my schedule pans out, or are you back in Niagara Falls, Blister?
I might be on my way to Thunder Bay. But I could probably Google Hangout from my room.
Yeah. Well, we can play it by ear right now. I mean,
We can try
it's
it if it doesn't work out very good. I mean, or we can go
Turn down the
Monday again.
pay-per-view porn before we do it.
Monday's a holiday, you know. We could. What about any time on Monday? Monday itself, because Monday's a holiday, long weekend.
Monday itself. My wife's going to be in Vegas.
What?
Interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's there for her little sister's bachelorette shenanigans.
This is how it started with K-Mac.
Right? Oh.
Don't. I saw them picking up groceries yesterday. Just saying.
Oh.
Okay.
Weird. Anyways, all right then,
We're still
everybody.
on the air.
Oh yeah, sorry, it still says live up there in the corner, guys. I don't think I'm at the school tomorrow, and I got to catch a bus early Wednesday morning, so I don't know when I'm going to see you guys unless you guys stop by the old board office. And for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.